All right, so we're gonna go. I've been getting. Well, there's a couple things. I've been getting a lot of comments. I've also been getting a lot of people like watching some of these videos. I don't know how that works. Usually, my videos go from like I don't know, like 80 to like 250. And then they'll get people over time, but that's kind of the zone. And I was at 6.97 or whatever. So 6.9, I don't know, like forever on subscribers, and all of a sudden I hit 7,000, and now it's at like 7.2, and some of these videos are getting like 2,000 views in like a day. So I don't know what that's about. I don't know if this the algorithm. I think I got a tube going here a little bit, but anyway, one thing I do want to do before I it's the phone. I want to do before I start this comments thing. I had a thought last night. He had a thought. I thought, I wonder if an amp through the cab and an amp through the IR would work now, because through the SUR reactive load, and then with Pulse 2, and with the IRs. And I thought, maybe a part of what was weird about it was that the cab was like, just like the whole room was just, it was too much. They were too different. So I came in this morning, and I already tested it and it worked. But we're just going to do it. We're going to pretend like I didn't test it. So you've got the two mics from the cab, and I've got the 800 into the straight cabinet, and they're going into Guitar 1, and then the Bogner Ecstasy is going into the IR one. So again, this would actually, now these would be glued together, harkening back. And I've just got the equalizer, the SUR reactor, the SUR woodshed, and just cracked with the blues driver. The sounds are pretty different. I didn't mess with the sounds because I'm in the middle of doing stuff. So there's the ones like the Bogner's got more gain, so that sounds a little strange. But I think this is working. So what I want to do is I'll first do my tick tick, and then I'll play a few chords so you hear it. So this is cab and IR together. So now it's so much quieter in here. I had these large because we were testing the tick ticks. So with the cab with the foam in front of it. Oh my God, that's a quartered king size bed. So here are so this is the tick for the 800 into the cab. This is the tick of the Ecstasy into the IR. So there's going to be, we'll see. And look at that. So the IR is actually coming in, the direct is coming in faster than, I guess because it's not going through preamps. So now I'm in sample mode, so you can see the difference is 22 samples. Do you guys see that? Kind of upper middle left, 22 samples. That means that the Ecstasy is 22 samples ahead of the 800. So you can do a couple things. You could just get you could just do nothing. It probably wouldn't matter, but I'm a nutcase. You could finish the whole track, comp it, put a note in comments, and then just nudge the 800 track up 22 samples. But I don't ever do that because I always get confused and forget. Or there is time adjuster. So now I'll get rid of the recording. Time adjuster is before the Pulse 2. And so now what I'm doing is I'm knocking the Bogner IR track back 22 samples later. This way, actually, if you look at it later. And that's it. And now we listen to it. panned left and right here. And the tracks aren't this big. It's like that. And they're killer. Dead on. And they're panned and they're very different sounding, which if there were any idiosyncrasies in it, you would really hear it. It would really be like, wow, but it's not. The only little oddity is that they are very different. All right, so here we go. I've never done this before. So again, all these people are so now there's all these people that are commenting that I don't know. Like normally I know everybody, but there's all these people that I don't know. And it's been cool, I mean, back when this site was banging, when I was doing things like the biggest amp shootouts on the planet, to this day, I don't think anybody's outdone what I did or what we did. That one in North Hollywood, 88 high gain amps. I mean, everything, and all the designers were out, and the builders. Delaney Nova, Dave Friedman, Reinhold Bogner, Mark Cameron, just a whole slew of them. But then, that was when it was really public kind of thing, and we had Gear Sluts and Rig Talk and, all these guitar. So, and I guess a part of me also kind of wanted to back off of that because it got a little bit, I'm not the best at listening to comments, because, people seem like they're better now or nicer now, but I don't know, like in the 2000s, people were gnarly. All right. So these are just different comments from the last, 3 weeks of videos finishing up the guitars. So at Silver Hair Care, have you ever tried a Tom Anderson? He's talking about the Sir that I have. He says, I always assumed Sir was always top of Super Strats, but I'm starting to get FOMO. I don't know what FOMO is. What is FOMO? What's FOMO? Anxiety. Oh, okay. Yeah, I get it. Okay. He's getting FOMO. All right. I haven't. And I just watched that video of that dude going to their whatever, their factory. And Tom Anderson was there, and boys, a lot goes down with this. The problem with some of these things is it's like where do you play them? There's really no shops here that do that. The only shop to me that really has these kind of guitars, unfortunately to me, is Guitar Center, which they have great, but they have Sir and all the custom shop stuff, Les Paul, Gibson and Fender, and then they have Paul Reed Smith, and they have Duesenberg and Gretsch and all that, and all the really nice stuff. But I don't know anywhere where there is Tom Anderson, so that would be kind of the situation with that. So I haven't. Jeff Styles Music 136. Jeff's been on here for a long time. Great insight. As artists, we are always changing, and the tools change a lot. Sometimes hard to deal with, but keep forging forward. Your channel is always okay. That's nice. Thank you. And I think with me, I'll be on a certain trajectory, and then work changes. I mean, my work has really changed, right? I'm a rock dude and screaming, and junk, Bogner, Uberschalls, and rectifiers and Modern Marshalls. That is all but completely gone. Other than if I did something for myself, that's not what's happening. I'm doing mostly pop country and pop and like kind of light radio rock. That's just the truth. When I do my licensing libraries, I do heavy rock, but this is for TV. It's they wouldn't really nobody would know the difference if you were using a $50,000 guitar rig or a Kemper. And sometimes in that world, it's actually advantageous for the guitarist to not be that overwhelmingly awesome, because you're underneath something they're trying to sell. Does everybody understand the whole concept of a lot of licensing? I remember my friend who's huge in this world, still is, composer. We went to college together, and I went to his studio in LA, and we were working on stuff for WB, Warner Brothers, and some other show, one of the vampire shows, Vampire Diaries or something. And Supernatural was another one. And I couldn't believe how kind of not so great the tracks. It was all right, but I mean, it was like, he was running plugins and like Cakewalk. Cakewalk, was that what it was called? Like early like FL Studio, Fruity Loops, like back in the day, like Reason, the Reason. But yeah, sometimes when you're under dialogue, you don't want it to be that like intense, because then people are like, "Whoa, that track is great," and is that that's not what you want. You're sonic wallpaper. If anybody knows that term, your sonic wallpaper. All right. Thanks, Jeff. Now I got Jake 13B. So if we were at 13 guitar tracks, he was 13B, there'd be 13A, right? They'd be connected. We've been talking about this. For the most part, you can get anything you need from the Bogner. The red channel gets real close to rectifier territory if needed, but you can always just buy another one if not. Yeah, and actually, oh man, I'm so crazy. Oh my God. So my triple that I sold to Guitar Center, which is such a great rectifier, it's still there. And I went in the other day when I was getting the timeline back, and I looked and I was like, I was like, I don't know. There may be a video. The video is the triple returns. Thanks, Jake. Wygo figure 000. Wygo? Ego? Wygo? When you say you're going to send solo slots, you mean friends of yours or internet friends here on YouTube? Right. So I had made a comment that I'm going to start banging out tracks, and that I would kind of like, if anybody's from YouTube, from Rig Talk, I did Around the World in 30 Days, and I sent out like the 16 bar solo or 32 bar solo I gave it to everybody, and people started sending in guitar tracks. So I ended up doing a bounce of it. It was about 14 minutes long, and it was me doing the verse and the chorus, and the verse and the chorus, and then that little bridge. Then the solo kicked in, and I would say the name of the person, whatever, and it would be the 16 bars, and then it would be the next guy, and I just looped them out. So everybody got to hear themselves play, and also their friends on Rig Talk, whatever. It was kind of a cool thing. So I think I'm going to do some of that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just do some jams, simple jams, and then if anybody, what I'll do is I'll put the track, like an MP3, and I'll be like, hey, if you want to track a guitar solo, I'll bounce it in, and we'll upload it and do a video. So yeah, there you go. So, but it will be for anybody. It won't just be for YouTube friends. I mean, we're all friends. We're all friends, right? It'll be anybody. Leon Todd, my buddy Leon Todd. What was my Leon Todd impersonation? London Plate. There's a few of them. I love Leon, and me and Leon have become friends. When we first started becoming friends, he said, I've been listening to you for years. I'm like, really? He's like, yeah, the singer got your vocal asylum, your vocal lesson course. And he says, we have your tracks in in the van, and while every day we all run through it. Mom, yeah, and he's like, so he gets to hear all my jokes over and over again. We love Leon Todd. He's a cool dude, man. He's a cool dude, and he said, man, that guitar sounds unreal. He's talking about Sir Pete Thorne. Yeah, Leon's a good guy. Yeah, that's all my blocks, all my Axe Effects FM9 blocks are all Leon Todd. I use his TV Mix 7. Yeah, his IR. It's really great. All right. Old Demos 378. Hey, James, thanks for the video. Actually discovered your channel because of your Vocal Asylum course. How weird is that? I was just talking about it. Singing has been the biggest barrier by far for me in music. I've done instrumentals for a long time, and the next step would be vocals. But every time I tried, it's been rough. You just got to stick at it. There's just no, yeah. And the thing with singing, and I swear I say this almost every day, singing is not about acquiring knowledge. So we're like we think of, we learn in school, like we memorize this date, we memorize this equation, we memorize this, we memorize. Singing is not that. Singing is almost the opposite of that. To me, anyway. Singing is epigenetics, right? We sing, we get on a path that's a good solid path, and we go on it, and what happens is our body starts to change. Epigenetics, like our body, because not only do you have to work the instrument, but you are the instrument. It's not like learning guitar. Like, you watch somebody like Paul Gilbert shred, he's not the guitar. He's manipulating the guitar with his body. But with us, we're everything. We're the whole deal. So it is only through repetition, right? Practice makes permanent. I do rock and metal. Most of those guys sing really high, yeah. And exercising, I can reach up to a high B. But actually singing, I struggle to do an F sharp a few times without blowing up my voice. Oh boy. Okay. I've sort of given up. Oh, don't give up, man. Don't give up. Sucks to practice vocals, but unlike guitar, there's no way to do it quiet. All right, so he's saying, it's hard to practice, right? You probably got people in the house. So you have if you have a car, you have a mobile vocal booth. So when I started singing in the 80s in LA, I was living in Hollywood, right? I was living in Hollywood, and I had 4 or 5 roommates. And I used to, at night, go to there's on the corner of Sunset and Gower, between Gower and El Centro, I think, there's a Denny's. And I would park in that lot. And one of the reasons I did is because I thought I had the best shot at not getting killed, because it was lit up, Hollywood in the 80s, before the gentrification. It's a little sketch. It's still sketch, actually. Gentrification does not fix the whole thing, trust me. But I would be in there, and I had my cassette. I made a cassette, right, of my favorite exercises from my coach, who was Buddy Mix. And I had another cassette filled with all the songs that I was singing at the time, and it was a wide array. I remember it was like, I think I had like Bon Jovi on there. I had Bruce Hornsby. I remember I can hear it in my head, but that Janet Jackson song. I had Earth, Wind and Fire, Reasons on there. Like I had, so I had this whole tape filled with all these songs. The last song was what I considered the Holy Grail, which was More Than a Feeling by Boston. And that's what I would do. I'd put on the cassette with the da-da-da-da-da-da, all the exercises. Once I felt like I was warmed up pretty good, I would start running the songs, doing it in my car, and then I was full blast. I wasn't in an apartment and people in the other room. It was shut up and whatever. So that's what I would say is the best, because we can't be like super inhibited. We have to feel free. Anyway, all right. But don't quit, you know? I mean, it is... This is a duplicate somehow. It is just, you know... It is the long and winding road. So you got to stick at it. If you need any help, you guys know you can reach out to me. Now we got user WX7WX, this guy. Good deal. Sounds tighter without all the reflections in the rooms. This is the tenting guy. This guy commented on the tenting. The tenting has made a huge difference. It's a part of why I feel like, hey, I can now do a live amp and an IR amp if I wanted to do multi-amp. So user WX, thank you. And it does really make a huge difference. All right, at Blackmore Records. Hi, James. I want to tell you that today, for the first time, I opened my Spotify account just to listen to your songs. I love your... Okay, so he's saying, yeah, this is nice. That there's heavy songs and there's ballads. And that's really my thing. So growing up, like, when I was a kid, you know, if you were a rocker, that was it. You were a rocker, right? If you were a rocker, that was it. You know, it was like Foghat and Bob Seger and, you know, Rush and Zeppelin and, you know, Skinner and whatever. But I was not that kid. I kind of wrote an odd... Like, my first real musical... Well, my first musical love was the Partridge Family. Right? I'm 61. That was the first, like, I loved the Partridge Family. But then my first, like, real, like, normal musician, not a TV show, was Elton John. My mom took me to Getty Square. I'm from Yonkers. Went down there. I bought 3 records. I bought the first Elton John, Caribou, and Honky Chateau. That was my first. And then that kind of navigated into... Stevie Wonder, and then like Steely Dan, because I was also around a lot of older guys. I grew up in a music store, and you know, they were listening to, you know, Mahavishnu Orchestra and Jeff Beck and, you know, Al Di Meola. I was getting into like progressive, so I had this huge array of music. So I'm not just like some metal dude, yeah, at all. So, well, and I appreciate it, Blackmore Records. If you're a record label, give me a record deal. I'm only 61. I can go on tour for 2 weeks. All right, Wayne T G6N. This guy's new. Blues Driver has the perfect rhythm that you can boost with a tube screamer or a spark drive or a sparkle drive and take it even over the moon. Okay, so thanks, Wayne. And that's what I did yesterday. I was using the Blues Driver and the 808 Maxon 808, and it was cool. I've never done that before. I've never like chained pedals and drive, or, you know, overdrives and you know, those kind of things. You know, gain pedals and whatever. I've always just used kind of like one. But it was cool. I've got another guy on here. I think it's Ian. Keeps saying I got to get an SD1 now. I toured with an SD1 when I was a kid. That was a trip. So when I was a kid, I thought that any musician that was like famous, they used completely different equipment. I thought they were all millionaires and on their own. You know, you know, you're a kid, right? So I went on the road and I was like, God, everybody's just using SD1s. I remember going to see Axe. I loved Axe, and I was like, I went right up to the stage, and I'll never forget it. The guitar player had was playing like a Les Paul. I think he had an SD1, and then he had a cable go, and along the side of his amp, he had some sort of little stand that on the side that hooked, and inside of that was a Boss GE7 plug-in straight, you know, like Boss EQ, like just using like everyday stuff. I was like, whoa, I didn't know that. The other thing I didn't know, so I got a chance to go see Night Ranger when Don't Tell Me You Love Me was out big, you know, and I had also known Brad from taking over Randy's spot, you know, with the with the vibrato. But yeah, because the video came out with them live, and then Night Ranger came out. Anyway, so they were playing at Summers on the Beach, or Art Stock's Summers on the Beach in Fort Lauderdale. So I don't know what year, 83, 84. And my friend worked there, and he said, "Hey man, come down. You can come down around 2. They're going to be there sound checking and practicing." I was like, "Oh wow!" So I go down there. I'm like, I'm a kid. I'm like, whatever, 18 or something. My mind is like exploding watching Night Ranger practice. You know, Jeff, whatever, with the 8 fingers, and Brad Gillis, and drummer who sings. And so they're leaving. Oh, there's Ian talking about the SD1. We'll get to you. But so they're leaving. It's maybe like 4 or something. And I'm like just kind of following along with them. You know, I haven't said anything to them. I'm just like, you know, kind of scooting with them, right? I'm a kid. And I'll never forget it. We get outside, and it's a 5-piece band and the manager. And they're like, "What do we want to eat?" And they're like, "Oh, do we want to get some pizza?" And they're like, "Yeah." And they're like, "Okay, who's got any money?" And like nobody had any money. And one guy had like $3 and some change. Another guy had like they were grubbing their money together to get pizza. And I'm sitting there, and then Dodge Aspen shows up. The guy drove it up there for them, must have worked for him, gets out. The manager gets in this car in the driver's side, and the whole band gets in this car. It's a little mid-size rental, or, you know, Dodge Aspen. It's like, you know, it's not even cool. And all 6 of them are in this car trying to put their money together to get pizza. Now, at that time, I thought if you were on MTV, you were a millionaire. That was my perception of this thing, this fame thing. Anyway, that's it, man. Oh, okay. Dave Johnson Audio asking why I had Time Adjuster on the bass tracks. That's from, and I replied to it, but that was back in the day, or, you know, back in the day, whatever. Like, I used to use an amp too. This is an old template that's been evolving. So, you'd use Time Adjuster if you were doing like a Sans Amp DI and an amp, because everything could be really cattywampus. But you'll see here's the bass tracks. I've taken off Time Adjuster, so that's that deal. Time Adjuster is a really, really good thing. Thanks, Dave. Another Wayne. With a ducking delay, you can keep playing and it doesn't be so... Okay, so, and there's another guy that commented about, oh, you could do less delays. This was when I was testing all the delays. The delays were kind of crazy. I just put the delays up and was just listening to them. So while I could say, oh, I know that, you know, what he said, what both of them said, I couldn't find the other one last night when I was organizing this. That the less delays would have been better. That's definitely. And then this ducking delay. I'm going to look into this because it's never really been my thing. But thanks to both you guys. I couldn't find the other one last night. Oh, Ian O'Rourke, we already commented. Blues Driver is great, but you should grab an SD1. I'm telling you. Ian's telling me. All right. My last SD1, I gave it away to my friend. So, I don't know, you know. Could be also my age. Like, I don't want to sound... like, anything I can do to not sound 80s. Because, I don't know. Though 80s are cool now. Maybe I should look into it. Thank you, Ian O'Rourke. 6320. All right, last one. Mr. Cable SB. Cabalist? Cable SB? I know the timeline was in front of the FM9. This is a big question. I know the timeline was in front of the FM9. I know the timeline was in front and the FM9 was in the loop for the delays. But do you feel the delays on the FM9 kind of weak? They always sound soft and sort of in the background on my FM3. Yes, I do. You know, the timeline, that's to me, that's another level from the Axe-Fx. The Axe-Fx sounds great, but the Axe-Fx is like if I think of timeline here and I think of plugins here, Axe-Fx is kind of in the middle. It doesn't have the, I don't know, there's like a richness to the timeline. Maybe because Axe-Fx is just really all digital, and maybe, you know, if you're using the timeline and using Bucket Brigade, maybe there's, I don't know how they make all this stuff, but yeah, but you know, again, you can do your best with it, right? You know, with the filter and, you know, using a little EQ in it, but I mean, there's a reason why the timeline's probably in the last 20 years, more people have bought timelines for Echo than probably just about every other Echo combined. I mean, and there's all these boutiques that people will be like, oh, this is better or that's better. But, you know, I mean, come on. The timeline was on almost every... I mean, can you imagine the money Strymon made with the timeline? I mean, between the timeline, the Mobius, and the Big Sky. I mean, you could retire. It was endless. But... and it's still great. And I have it back here. This is my old one that I bought back because I'm crazy. But I think that's really the answer on that as far as I'm concerned. And that goes for a lot of things with the FM, with anything fractal with effects. All the effects are cool. They're all really good. They're not always full of weight. You know, like the choruses don't feel like a Boss chorus in front of an amp, you know, where the Boss chorus is like integrating into the amp, and it's like it's not just like an effect, there's like a color and like a weight to the effect itself, where you don't necessarily get that, especially in a loop. So yeah, there you go. So anyway, this was our our little question, comment, whatever, and here are the two tracks. One is the Cab, 800 in Cab. This is Ecstasy going through the Sur reactive load and with an IR, and time adjusted for 22 samples. So it's polarity, which is whether the peak transient goes up or down. That's the polarity. So the polarity is the same, and now the phase, which is how they line up, is, you know, sample accurate. 22 samples. We tested it. Very like quacky, a little top endy, but you know, anyway, it works. Okay. I do appreciate you guys. And see, I read the comments.